Oh.
Thank you.
I'm calling the Village of Cross Plains Board of Trustees meeting, May 11th, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Henry.
Here.
Trustee Brochus.
Here.
Trustee Borcar. Here. Trustee Borglum. Here. Trustee Pomakowski.
Here.
Trustee Calvater. Here. President Lightfoot.
Here. Stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're at public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village board on any issue. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. While the village board encourages input from residents, it may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. Do I have anybody for public comment?
Yes, I'm first.
All right. We will move to the consent agenda. Upon request of any trustee, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration under general business. Is anybody?
I don't think anything, well, it's not worth pulling out. I was just curious about the flyover thing.
The fly being, yeah.
I just didn't know what it was.
Okay.
I can explain
Go
it
ahead.
if you'd like.
Go ahead.
So basically it's it allows agencies to pool resources together to receive like countywide aerial imagery. So it's to update our GIS. And to keep everything updated. This year we have more parcels than we had the last time we did in 2022, because obviously the annexation of the PI property. So yeah, it's something that was recommended for us to continue and contribute to. And Brian is a proponent of that as well, Brian Burquest from Town and Country.
Okay. Update our database.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yep.
Understand what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
But it sounds like the county's paying for it.
So there's so we have a contribution, so per section, it says in there, there's a set amount that we would pay per section that we need of the imagery. So it comes to 1,440 would be our contribution. But what's nice about it is we can use, we can spread the cost across sewer, water, general fund, because it's contributing to all of those areas.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, we're at discussion. Just one thing I just want to point out on there, it has the new appointees to the different commissions, boards and stuff. It says in there, they're 3 years. I just want to clarify that. That's a general statement, but like police commission is 5 years, tourism is 1 year, and those are done by state statute. The other thing is that changes that these terms are tied to a seat, not a person. So if someone stays on a position for a year and then leaves and we have to reappoint someone, they're only on for 2 years, not 3. So the 3 years in the term is set to the seat, not the individual. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. And I'm not bad at math. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right, we'll go to report of village officers. I have nothing that's not on the agenda.
Mine is just that Memorial Day is coming up and we're looking for volunteers yet. So if you want to volunteer, you can reach out to Shelby Acre at the chamber or whoever else. I mean, there's a lot of people, so but I know they're looking for volunteers.
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the Chamber and the Lions Club for an amazing trout days. This was by far the best one field that I have ever experienced, and they it just had such a great community feel. So thank you to all the volunteers and everyone who's a part of that.
Great. Anybody else? All right, village administrator.
Yeah, I just wanted to welcome Kane Brzezowski, our new Parks and Rec director. If you want to wave in the back, Kane. He started last Monday and is off to a great start. He's been at the pool mostly, so making sure that the pool is able to open up on Memorial Day per tradition. And then, yeah, just wanted to also plug the Memorial Day celebration.
Welcome, Kane, to the village. All right, village department heads and other reports? Anybody? All right, we'll go to general business. 2025 audit financial statement. We'll do A first, distribution and presentation by Johnson Block. All right. Yeah.
Anything you want to start with, or you just want us to jump in?
Jump in.
My name is Brett Hoffmeister. I'm a partner with Johnson Block and Company. With the Megan Johnson, she's in charge on the audit. So we're here just to talk about, briefly go over your 2025 audited financial statements. We put together this 2025 audit overview. We'll kind of go through the first couple of pages. It has, I can't remember, it's 10 or 12 pages or so of just some highlights and summary information, financial summary, that type of thing. We really just kind of extract in these first couple of pages a summary of the highlights, significant items to go through, just to keep it a little more brief. But this first page here, page 1, summarizes the content of the full audit document. I believe there's a draft available on your website. And so this just kind of summarizes what you see when you're looking at a set of audited financial statements. So the first thing you see is the independent auditor's report. That's our report on the financial statements. It is still a draft, but right now that's an unmodified opinion on the financials. That's what we would typically see in an audit. That's the highest level of assurance we give. The financial statements are in accordance with accounting principles in our opinion. There's a set of fund financial statements, which that's kind of what we talk about and focus on, because that kind of follows along with your budgeting. It has financial statements for your different funds, your governmental fund types, like your general fund, debt service, capital projects, your business type funds. Those are your water and sewer utilities. Those are full accrual, operated more like a business than your governmental funds, because they have service revenues, your water and sewer service revenues. So the big difference is there, how you account for things like debt, capital assets. On your governmental funds, those are accounted for as expenditures and revenues. Your business type funds are on your balance sheet, long-term liabilities, long-term assets. There's also a set of government-wide financial statements. Those have your governmental and business type activities reported in the aggregate. So we combine all those funds together for your governmental fund types or business types and report them as one unit. Those are full accrual for both types. And so we take those governmental fund financial statements, convert them to a full accrual basis. And then so you have both methods of accounting on your books there for an audited financial statement. There's a set of notes to the financial statements, which have significant accounting policies, footnotes related to significant account balances, and things like cash, your fixed asset balances, your debt. And that accompanies the financial statements along with some required supplementary information, gives information on your budget to actual. So that's kind of the audited financial packet itself. The other reports that we help with, your Water Utility Public Service Commission annual report, that was due May 1st, that was filed. And then the Department of Revenue Municipal Financial Report, or the Form C, that's actually due at the end of the week, but we've already filed that one. So those are all your regulatory filings are taken care of. Along with an audit, we also look at internal controls and other communications with the board and those charged with governance. Looking at internal controls, if there are any things that we know, we report them in a separate letter. This doesn't affect our opinion on the financial statements, it just accompanies those financial statements. So a couple comments that we have: material audit adjustments. So Through the audit, we help with journal entries for things like capital assets, depreciation, getting those recorded. When we have adjustments that are large enough, we typically have a finding noted there. That's a pretty common finding for smaller governmental entities and one we've had here in the past. Along with the segregation of duties finding, that one, there's just some overlapping accounting duties. And that's similar, you see that when you have a smaller office size, you have accounting duties that overlap in personnel. And from an internal control perspective, that does raise some additional risk for, misstatements or other issues there. The other two things we note on here are just some comments. And I think, the first one is just about sewer rate adjustments. We spoke with staff and Jay before. That was just, you've been adjusting sewer rates, after paying off your large wastewater treatment loan. And we understand that you're working with the engineer on, like long-term capital improvement and equipment replacement plan. So that was kind of how that comment was just about that. So you've kind of already taken care of that one. And then the journal entry review process is just kind of a recommendation to tweak some of your internal controls a little bit. When journal entries are booked in the financial statements, they're essentially all handled by one person. So just having a little bit of a second review on those journal entries as they get posted, really all of that there. Any questions on that information? Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Megan. She's going to talk a little bit more about financial specifics on that page.
I didn't see the information on material audit adjustments, lack of segregation of duties. Is that in here or is that just?
That would be in the full draft of the audit report and the other communication letter. So it's not in this report.
Okay.
Like in detail, but just to keep this a little more brief. But that it is in the full draft of the communications and the audit report.
Because you used to be in draft, I believe, in the past.
No, it's in it was in the draft audit report. What you have is a summary of the audit report.
Yeah.
Got it.
So when you do it, you'll find it in the first couple pages, the whole statement that he's talking about.
Bobby included a link. She has it on the website. So if you click on this link, Bill, you can see
Okay.
the whole thing.
Oh, good.
And you'll find it in the Roman numeral section.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty long, so.
Okay.
For this.
Great, thank you, sir.
Okay, so as Brett mentioned, we have some key takeaways that just cover some major topics that are included in the audit draft. Again, as he mentioned, the audit is in draft form, but essentially complete. The only thing that might be changing is the subsequent event footnotes, which that would be if something were approved tonight, that would need to be disclosed as a subsequent event in the footnotes, but otherwise, no major changes are expected. Again, he mentioned the unmodified opinion there. And then we'll get into some specifics on the general fund. So fund balance increased by about $608,000, mainly related to revenues being over budget and expenses being under budget. Total fund balance is just over $2.3 million. And of that balance, there's about $18,000 that's non-spendable related to prepaid expenses. And the unassigned portion of the fund balance is about 56% of 2026 budgeted expenses, which is pretty healthy fund balance. And then about $700,000 of cash at the end of the year was related to advanced tax collections that were collected in December. TIP fund had about $100,000 in fund balance at year end. And then getting into the water sewer operations, water had approximately $986,000 in cash at the end of the year. Sewer with about 3.1 million in cash. Both have significant debt balances, water around 6.2 million and sewer around 1.7 million. Utility cash flows, so water cash flows increased by about $41,000, mostly from operations. Sewer cash decreased about $99,000, but they did pay back money that was borrowed from the water in previous years. Rate of return on the PSC that Brett mentioned, that regulatory report that was filed 2 weeks ago, was about 0.35, with target rate is at 4.9%. The significant decrease this year was mostly related to reservoir painting costs that aren't eligible to be capitalized. So that's something to note there.
And just to jump in on that a little bit, so that rate of return is calculated by the PSC, report filing. It's basically what your net utility plan is in comparison to your utility revenues. Your net utility revenues at the end of the year. So things like when reservoir painting comes along, it's a significant cost. And you see that with water towers, reservoirs, they're a one-time thing that happens every 20 years or so. You're not allowed for PSC standards to capitalize that and spread that cost out. So your rate of return generally takes a hit. So your target rate's about 4.9% in the last rate tariff. Those get adjusted when you do rate cases. But that's just kind of a benchmark for whether or not the utilities, have enough operating revenue to meet obligations. That is a one-time thing, so that'll be about next year. So it's not a recurring thing at this point. You are still eligible for a rate case, simplified rate increase if you would so choose to go that route.
So we don't get fined for that or anything like that, right?
No,
some fines or
no.
something.
And then the last bullet point here is related to your general obligation debt capacity. The village has about 75% of debt capacity available for borrowing. And there is a table at the back of this packet, or towards the back, that shows exactly the amounts that you have outstanding and available. So
Just under $9 million in geo debt outstanding. So that doesn't include your utility debt that is revenue bonds. This is just your general obligation paid by your tax levy. So 75% of your borrowing capacity, no concerns there. With borrowing for road projects or any other upcoming projects, there won't anticipate any issues there. The rest of this is just more detailed financial information. The first couple pages were really the highlights. So unless anybody has any questions on the financial information after the first couple pages, those were really kind of the high level things we wanted to go over. Everything went well with the audit this year, I think. No real issues or significant concerns that we would have on our end. So yeah, if there are any questions, we'd be happy to field them now, or if you have any questions that come up after we're done here, we'd be happy to take those too.
I got a question, but it's on the full report.
Okay.
Carly, are you able to pull
Yeah,
it up and go to page 28?
sure.
You have to copy.
Yeah, I can't do that while I'm in here. Let me see. Is it a hidden page?
It's in the documents.
It's in the document center, okay. Can I just oh, I would have to sign in, okay.
We do it back.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you ask some
We can
questions?
start
Yeah,
there.
go ahead.
Page
I'm gonna work on it.
28, I'm probably just not reading this right, but direct borrowing revenue bond that we took out on 6/22/20. Balance of, I guess I'm confused because the original indebtedness was
Yeah.
3.1 million, but then the balance is 3.7 million. So how did it go up?
But yeah, that might just be a linking issue or a typo within that table. So we can check on that and get that corrected.
Because that does, well, I mean, I'm assuming that's much lower because we've been making payments on that since 2022, but that does raise that total amount of revenue bond borrowing quite a bit.
I think my guess would be, because that would be one of your safe drinking water loans for the well, correct?
I don't know.
22 would be pretty close to that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing what happened there is, so those safe drinking water loans, you make draws on them as you go. So that 3.1 million is probably just didn't get outlaid. So that maybe last year you had drawn $3.1 million. Now this year in 22 you had draws on it, in 23 you had draws on it. So I'm guessing that number there just hadn't been updated. I believe you made final draws on that in 2025.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that column just needs to be updated.
And then I guess, okay, if I'm understanding, then that 3.7 would go down. I mean, it should by multiple millions of dollars, I think. right?
The 3.7 million is act.
Right.
Okay.
And the original indebtedness column is probably outdated by a year, might be a year. Just that number just didn't get updated in the footnote line.
So we probably drew off 3.1 in 2022, and then in 2025, we drew another. Whatever to get,
Yeah.
600,000 to finish it up, which is probably updating well too. And then that adds to the 3.7 on it.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Because we didn't borrow it all at once, we borrowed it as we needed it.
Yeah, the state loan programs are different from your geo bonds, where the geo bonds, you get everything all at once with the funds. The state programs, you're drawing them as you need.
Is that a reimbursement type thing then?
Okay, like you incur the cost first.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah,
Usually.
Yeah, Jen, that's the Brian. Yeah. Brian.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess. The long and short of that is there's 3.7 million
Outstanding on that bond.
outstanding in that bond that we won't pay off till, I mean, this says 2042.
Correct. Yeah, that's pretty standard for those. They're typically 20-year loans. From those safe drinking water and clean water fund programs.
And then that. Is not. Well, that's obviously that. The revenue, the direct borrowing from bonds is not tied to the geo.
The limit. Right?
Yeah, the limit, are
So
they,
the direct borrowing revenue bonds, correct. Those don't count towards your geo limit.
okay. Because property taxes aren't paying for those.
Yep, you pledge the revenues from the water system or the sewer system to pay those debt service, principal and interest.
Okay.
And the other, the general obligation lines above that, and actually, yeah. The general obligation ones on page 27, those are being paid through property tax levy.
Yeah.
So those you're just pledging the general revenues of the village. So that's where that geo debt limit comes in, and what applies to, which statutory area.
Okay.
Anything else there? Did I cover all your questions?
No, but. I guess, so our water utility bond. Covenant coverage was, we only made that by, I can't find the page anymore, which is why I took notes, and of course I didn't write down the page, but. We have a required floor of $561,997 to like have on water margin, and we had $586,534, so we're like barely
So
above it. Is that normal?
you're meeting your bond covenant, so.
Right.
That's generally what you're shooting for. I would say that's, like, I don't have any concerns with that one.
Okay,
Your net revenue requirement is they take your operating revenues minus operating expenses. They don't factor in things like depreciation that are non-cash items. And then generally the requirement is that your net revenues equal 110% of your debt service requirement.
okay,
So that's, you're essentially, that's saying you're meeting your revenues enough to cover your debt service needs. Is what that.
yeah, I knew we got past the line, but it just seemed like barely, and so I didn't know if that was what most communities did, or. I mean, I don't want
So-
water to get more expensive, but.
Well, and the thing with the water rates is that they are regulated by the PSC.
Yep.
So. When you say, is that what some communities do, it's kind of out of your hands, because when you do a rate case, the PSC is gonna say, all right, here's your expected outlays, here's your debt service requirements. This is what your revenue needs to be. So
Okay,
they generally build those out, so they are pretty close to what, this revenue requirement. They're gonna build it, generally speaking, so that it meets that. But they're not gonna like go way over, or way under that, so.
okay,
Being pretty close to it, I would say that's what you would generally expect to see.
okay. We jump to life insurance. retiree life insurance section, LRLIF, and I should have taken the page number and didn't. 45, I think, so. I guess.
Oh, are you looking at the
Yeah.
right side in the back sections?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I guess, am I reading that correctly, that we're only, funding retiree life insurance is only 37% funded?
Correct, and. So this is a cost sharing multi-employer plan where that you participate in through the state of Wisconsin. So this isn't a single employer plan where all of the burden of the entire system is on you.
Okay.
You're paying, it's similar to WRS where you're paying into a state-run system. They tell you what your required contributions are. And you are making your payments. So as far as your insurance premiums go that are paid monthly, you're current on all your obligations there. This comes from an actuarial study where the state says, here's our projected benefit requirements, here's our projected benefit assets that are gonna be available. And we only have, 37% of that is currently funded.
Well, because it's shared, if we all of a sudden had to, we could pay all that out with.
Yeah, like that's kind of the unknown, I'm not, I can't really answer what the state would do, I mean, I think it was before my time, the WRS system was underfunded. And I know, from what I remember, seeing it when I first started my career, places did have to issue bonds that they paid in to the WRS to get current on those obligations. I hadn't heard anything about, plans to fully fund the life insurance system, in a similar manner, but the obligation is much less. So the unfunded estimate right now is about $140,000 village. Whereas, what was that? The WRS system, which is almost entirely funded, like they're 99% funded, which for all intents and purposes is fully funded. That also has a unfunded liability of $150,000. Now, that one has gone back and forth to 98% underfunded to 105% overfunded, so. Those are numbers that were provided by the state because they do an actuarial study for the whole system. This is just your little piece of it that is broken off and adding your financial statements.
And in that first column, it notes what the village's proportionate share of the total
Correct.
liability. Passing the savings. 0.
9.030%.
Correct, yeah, very, very, very small.
Okay. I think I have one. Oh, it's probably more just a question. Probably not for you guys, maybe for Bobby. There was like a huge jump in our conservation and development spending, but I don't remember what we. Think between 24 and 25, what did we spend money on?
That was you paying off the developer incentive
Oh, that's right.
for,
The tip.
the name escapes.
Milestone, yeah. They were, remember, we were on when they did their TID money, it was where they got from increments, so we'd have to wait until 2037 or something. Before we paid it off early, because it was also gonna go up to 7% interest, so we paid them off early.
Okay, yeah, so that must have been the development. I was mostly caught up on conservation. I'm like, I don't think we did anything huge there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. I'm sorry.
Just, did we clean up that venture section?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else? That's all.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go to B, discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of the 2025 audit financial statements. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the acceptance of the 2025 audit financial statement.
Do I have a second?
I have a second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at March Stone. We'll do the same thing. Go through each letter. A is discussion of possible action regarding revised water infrastructure agreement.
I can introduce this one.
Okay.
So this one, back in February, the village board approved the water infrastructure agreement. So that's between the village and Marchstone. So 43% village, 57% Marchstone cost share allocation to project costs. So after that, the village signed the agreement and the Marchstone developers did not. So that tonight they are requesting the addition of paragraph 7, which they can explain a little bit more about.
Okay, thank you. As we discussed at the planning commission, there was some misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding that some folks thought that there was a out, if you will, in this agreement if we didn't get future approvals. And it was our understanding that that language wasn't in there and we needed it in there for us to sign the agreement. That's why we never signed the agreement. So after kind of circling back and everybody reviewing it, it was concluded that there was not an out for us if in fact we didn't get our future approvals. So we requested and it was added, this paragraph 7, basically that if we don't, that we're happening, we'll sign, if this gets approved tonight, we'll sign it tonight or tomorrow or whatever. Because we're not obligated to go build the reservoir if we don't get future approvals, which we think is fair. And so really all we're hoping to get it added to an already agreed upon document is this out paragraph, if you will, that if in fact we don't get future approvals, so we can do future phases of residential and golf course, this agreement goes away. The expenses up to this point to the time of signing would be paid the 57 and 43. That's already been agreed upon, that allocation. We would still be obligated to pay our share. So we're just hoping to get this in there so we can move forward, knowing that the water agreement is signed and it's just one thing off our checklist.
All right, so just the bottom line here is, it's just a fairness thing. If the development doesn't go, we're not gonna hold down to building the village infrastructure, the reservoir and booster station at that. Right, I mean, that is kind of, but it was left out of the agreement that was part of it. And I think just people assume that we're not gonna hold somebody accountable for something that they don't get their half of it. All right, go ahead, Cameron.
Well, if you want to get to discussion, I can wait.
Yeah, let's wait, let's have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised water infrastructure agreement.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we're at discussion. Go ahead, Cameron.
Has we looked at this from like the context of if a golf course isn't built? I mean, the water infrastructure, I totally get like that, that's for the homes, not for the golf course, but like, you know, the Parkland Conservancy fees waived of almost $500,000. Would we still do that if there was no recreational golf course added?
Well, not that part's covered in it, that if the rest of if we don't build the water system, then they will pay us for phase 1. There's no waiver for these other homes. Right now, it's the waiver is for phase 1. If the other phases don't go, then they would pay. That's in there already.
This waiver is only for phase 1.
Correct.
Okay. But I thought if we did the water infrastructure, that would be in phase 2.
Right. It's all tied together.
There's part of pre-plan that is part of this.
Right, because I understand, you know, there's infrastructure you can be putting down in phase 1 for that, you're gonna do it. Okay,
I thought there was a clause in that agreement towards the bottom.
I think it's early on, about month fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's in there because on developer agreement, we referred to it.
Yeah, it's in here. I'll find
Most
it.
our lawyers approve this.
Yes, yes, it's
So-
unfortunate that this was left out
Right
in
there,
there.
it's right above paragraph 2.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep, if they're not installed as contemplated by this agreement, the village shall collect the parkland and conservancy dedication fees.
phase one, okay,
So if we don't do any further development,
right,
the reservoir doesn't go in and we pay this.
yeah, and I don't want that, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, we'll make sure that that part is, I think I got confused because there's the phase two water infrastructure, but the
Yeah.
agreement is tied to phase one, okay.
Yes. Anybody else? All right.
Wait, I think, did Michael come off mute?
Oh, I did. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna vote against this because I don't think we should be waiving those parkland and conservancy fees.
Okay. So let's do a roll call vote.
Trustee Henry,
Yes.
trustee Borcar,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yep.
trustee Polanowski,
No.
trustee Borland,
Yes,
trustee Calvater,
Yes.
president Lamb.
Yes. All right, so now we're at B. Now, I just want to give everybody kind of what this piece is about. So this has been to plan, we got their input on, we're gonna go through the 3 different parts of this, all right? This is discussion only, it's for you to ask questions, get information, we're not voting on this. And then at the next plan, commission, we're gonna do a public hearing, so the public has it. And then plan will vote in their June meeting, and then this will come back to us. Is it June 8th is our next meeting? Well, whatever our next meeting.
It is the 8th. Yep, you're right, Jay.
Okay, I thought. So tonight, we're just gonna go through there's 3 sections to this for these changes. We're gonna go over, and this is your opportunity to get questions answered, then you have time to research and whatever, and then next month we'll carry it through. So why don't we go ahead and start with
Sure. So I can kind of kick this off. I guess I did put a memo together as well. So Marchstone is requesting amendments to the village's hillside overlay regulations in order to develop some of their proposed lots in phase 2. So there's portions that are currently impacted by the overlay standards that we have. And so they're proposing to modify our regulations related to hilltop edges, steep slopes, and then other disturbance areas within the development. And as Jay said, this will go to Plan Commission on June 1 for a public hearing. And they proposed some amendments, which we can go through this evening. Do you want to kind of kick things
Sure.
off, Jeff?
Sure.
All right.
Thanks. Yeah, I think part of the history on this is this goes way back. Almost since day one, since we've been talking to you, that the need for some steep slope construction and or tree removal. So we've been talking about this for a very year and a half at least. I think we were all going in the right direction until recently, and only because a map was never made of the hilltop edge buffer area. And once that map was created, it affected probably 25 of our lots. Which is a very large financial hit to us. And so what we're looking at and proposing is to reduce that 150 down to 50. Some of that, I don't know if you want to go to that map, maybe,
Sure.
Carly?
Yeah. Make this a little simpler here. See if it loads. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, my computer's frozen. We're working on it.
Yeah, I'll just keep rambling and maybe. we'll-
Okay, maybe it'll come back in.
So the map that was part of the packet shows the reduction to 50 feet. And once we get the map, we can show, well, first of all, we need to understand that our plan hasn't changed since 2024. So we haven't really done anything differently to encroach on any new areas. These were all part of what we wanted to do since day one. Again, I think the red flag, if you will, came once that map was created that we're trying to get up. There you go.
Mhm.
So kind of the lighter pink area are your steep slopes. And the more pronounced pink area or purple area, that would be your hilltop edge buffer. And what this map is showing is 50 feet. So like if you looked on kind of the middle top there, the pink that kind of encroaches onto those lots. If you could picture that going another 100 feet, it pretty much wipes out all those lots. It wipes out some lots on that left cul-de-sac. And then it also takes out some more lots on the southern part of the plat. I'm not very good at this. Red turned on. Is that okay?
Yep.
Oh, I just turned it off. Yeah. Oh, there we go. So, okay, so down here now it's here, this pink area and this pink area. If you imagine that going out another 100 feet, that'd go almost to the front lot line, same thing here. So we would lose those lots. It's our understanding this ordinance was created back in the 70s. And personally, and we have some more exhibits and explanations, but we don't believe the 50 feet really hurts what we're doing. Excuse me, it hurts for the village. And the 150, if it was there, wouldn't really do a whole lot more for the village as far as sightlines and so forth. And a lot of the treetop buffers is my understanding to protect those hilltops. And we do have some exhibits. You know, maybe if we go down to. Yeah, so let's go, okay, we can start with that
Is
one.
that the one you want? Okay.
Sure. Then we'll go to the one right above that. So what we did on this was we took a starting point down by the school where the subdivision starts off of Evergreen. If you look kind of the top picture on the middle where that straight line starts on the left there. So we took a straight line from that point to the area we were talking about. And it, you can see from the bottom, because of the trees that are on the back of these property lines, Bill, you asked about this a little bit at the planning commission meeting. So we created this exhibit. So basically, and we put a 2-story maximum height home on that lot. And you really can't see much of anything of that home because it's protected by the trees. Before we see you again in the planning commission, a couple other things that were discussed at the planning commission, we're increasing the rear lot lines to help protect a little bit further. We're looking at that. I think this is an easy one. We'll encourage natural shingles or roof types instead of something not brown or black, so it doesn't stick out as much. What am I missing? Our deed restrictions basically say you can't remove trees without our permission. So a builder couldn't go in there and just demolish the trees. So the trees you see on this exhibit on the bottom are off the property. So those trees are in the, either, it'll probably be a conservancy area, so those trees will not be removed. Because they're either gonna be in the 50-foot or in the conservancy, so those stay. So I think this exhibit basically shows that you really won't see much from the lower elevations. And if we can go up. Yep, I think that's the map. Actually, we don't, yeah, that. So if you looked at the same area we were talking about right here, Bill, another one of your questions from the other night was, is this really all in trees? And yes, it's all in trees. So, because the green is the trees, so these lots will be in the trees, it's not like they're in the wide open. If you scroll down, Carly, this is our new golf plan too, by the way. Exciting.
Oops,
Uh,
scrolled a little too far.
Yeah.
How come I'm not seeing these exhibits in
Yeah,
our
that's,
packet?
I was like, I just,
So they just got added today.
okay.
Yeah.
Good, I'm not losing my mind.
No,
Well, yeah, but then
I've got one.
how are we talking about it?
Packet that I saved over
This is just discussion.
This is discussion, so you wanna see it now and understand it.
Sure.
Right.
So when it's in your packet, you know what you're looking at.
Right. So even, yeah, it was, he had provided these this morning. Mhm.
so here's that other area, Bill. And that's all in trees also. So none of these homes are sticking out in the middle.
Okay,
So as you look up, it's not, I mean, they're gonna be protected.
My understanding is the trees that are there now, when I buy a lot or somebody buys a lot, it's up to us to take down the, like, we're gonna build our house around the trees. You're leaving the trees as they are.
Yes.
Except for the bad trees you're
Yep.
taking down, which there are a lot of bad trees, I'm just informing you.
Yeah, that'll be.
But I think what we need to do, and I think Jeff has suggested that, is there's two things that he kind of talked about, having the setback farther back. So that would put even more, right? And not allowing a builder to cut every tree down.
Right.
So they're gonna have some restrictions where maybe you can cut trees down. Where the improvement's gonna be made, anything out there needs permission.
Those are the deed restrictions that were.
Yeah.
Approved.
Yeah.
Says retention of healthy native trees is strongly encouraged. Except as approved by the HCC, no tree shall be removed outside of the identified building envelope. What I was just talking about, except to remove dead or dying or diseased trees, invasive species, or fulfill the village of Cross Plains and Dane County laws, regulations.
And we also have in our deed restrictions adding trees, so. Depending on how the site ultimately ends up, if somebody disturbs most of the trees in the front just because. They were either bad trees or, you know, the worst case scenario, the front yards are empty. From existing trees, they need to add back at least 3.
Or the landscape requirements.
and the deed restrictions regulate what kind of tree they are.
Yep, size and type.
We also started looking into other municipalities as well. To kind of see if there was any specific language similar to what you guys had. Didn't find it, we're not done yet, but didn't find anything as specific as the village of Cross Plains. We looked at the town of Cross Plains. Barry, Springfield, and the town of Middleton as well. We kind of talked about this too in the plan commission about being a potential pilot program as well. You know, I think this is an opportunity, obviously change is something new at times. But again, something for the village to kind of evaluate and, you know, depending on which direction we ultimately go. You know, with some of these potentially revised setbacks, you know, the deed restriction language. You know, if the village doesn't like it, obviously it can be changed down the road, but. The pilot program is a good opportunity to potentially embrace that.
All right,
Did you want to walk through the ordinance revisions?
Sure.
Okay.
Tony did a good job of this last time. The first 3 are your existing. And then this was kind of created between Sonia, Brian, your village attorney, our engineer. And some of this isn't just for Marchstone. We have to keep in mind that this is a new ordinance for the village. So some of this does not even pertain to Marchstone. But everyone thought with these, what do we have? 4 new ones. It just helps everybody in the long run. And so these 7 items would be exceptions to what can be done in that 50 feet. Within that 50 feet, it would be allowable for construction of public stormwater management facilities and erosion control. Land disturbance is necessary for construction of public or private recreational amenities, including trails, overlooks, parks, and open space improvements. Construction of private roads, driveways, and pedestrian, bicycle, or cart paths. Development of golf course uses, including fairways, greens, tee boxes, bunkers, drainage features, driving ranges, bathrooms, and cart paths. I guess that's
That's it.
That's it. So a little bit helping us and a little bit for the village also.
So the map we saw with the pink, the shades of pink, that's drawn with 50 feet.
Correct.
So the brighter pink spots are within 50 feet of the identified slope areas, but the current ordinance is written at 150 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out.
You went.
Want to go through the next one then, the cutting one?
Sure. I think was it. So the next one. Basically. Talked about trees. Your current ordinance allows. Cutting up to 30% of the woodlands. We're currently at 40 or 41%, looking at the total. Tree canopy, if you will. We had and I think it was part of the packet, a tree study done. And the tree study basically groups trees into 4 categories: excellent, good, fair, and poor. None of the trees on this property are excellent. They're either good, fair, or poor. So I think we all kind of get hung up on that map that showed all the green forest. But the question is, of that green forest, how many are really quality trees that should be saved? Part of the tree study, it was concluded that without proper management, this forest is just going to go really negative. There's so much overgrowth of non-wanted trees. And because of that, it's choking out the quality trees. So what our tree study did was talk about what trees we want to remove. And also talks about the restoration program we plan on doing. So it's not like we're just gonna go out there and clear a bunch of trees. We're gonna go back there and restore almost, it might even be more acreage than what we're disturbing. So we are gonna take down trees, but we're also gonna follow back up with prairies, tree restoration, cleaning up areas that we're not even touching to really improve the quality of this forest. One thing, so what we're asking or suggesting for calculating the 30% items that would be not part of that 30% would be poor, fair trees per the tree study, invasive or undesirable species, removal of trees with trunk diameters of less than 6 inches, removal of diseased, dying, damaged, or hazardous trees, and removal of vegetation within areas necessary for grading utilities, infrastructure, or approved development activity, included but not limited to public or private roadways, utility corridors and easements, driveways and access roads, public sidewalks, and walking trails. I guess that's it. We think with the addition of basically removing or adding the language of 1 and 2 and 3, that'll get us under the 30%. And then we would not need a conditional use for our tree clearing. Cameron, did you have a question? Did you raise your hand?
I don't think so, but I do have a question, but I can wait for other people.
No.
Oh,
Bill, then
Oh,
Cameron.
go ahead, Bill. I
So-
didn't raise my hand yet.
As I said, last week, I really like this a lot. With that, Dane was our village arborist, if you
Well,
will,
Forester, yeah.
forester. Do we have it? We.
We're in the process of hiring.
Okay, so we don't have anyone to be able to comment on that, who's the expert for the village.
No, but I think Dane was here when this first report came out, if I'm not mistaken. We can
Yes.
ask, but I thought he agreed with it, or at least, oh, that's not there anymore.
I don't know if he saw it or not. I guess I can't confirm.
Cause he just left like 3 weeks ago.
But he was
Right.
on, he was on maternity leave.
Yeah, he went out in January.
Yeah, we can check. For some reason, in the back of my mind, when that first came out, I asked that question.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So again, I'm good with it. I
Yeah.
I would like someone from our side to look at it and say,
that's right.
yeah, yes, or here's some suggestions or whatever the case might be, but
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Cameron?
So this says 145.3 acres are probably restorable, whatever the report was called. I'll just, but, and you said, I guess you said you think we're thinking you're gonna restore more than that?
Yeah, I think I think what I said was, we're gonna restore more than we're gonna disturb. So I think part of that is like, we're disturbing potentially 128 acres. 126, and we plan on restoring 142.
Okay,
That's the table that. That's what you like.
I'm looking at table 3 on page, well, no, it's like PDF page 67, but then the bottom of the page says 62.
Okay. Is it this one?
That one, yeah, that was what I was looking at.
So the proposed tree removal acres of.
Oh, it's 125, okay.
And then restorable acres.
Oh, interesting, okay.
145.3.
We should probably talk about ways to, I don't know, ensure that happens or something when we get to phase 2 development.
Be in the developers agreement.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you guys in the process of hiring then an arborist?
Yes.
That'd be great, because yeah, I mean, somehow, some way we'll have to figure that
Just,
out.
you know, it's, they have an umbrella of assignments.
Sure.
They're not just forestry.
Right,
Yeah,
But someone that should have the expertise and at least in the basic thing of looking at this report and going in and following up on it.
Right, and we have interviews this week.
Yeah, we have to figure that out, but from the golf course aspect, you know, we're just really thinking out loud, looking for input. But it's almost like we stake the middle of the fairway. Have your representative and our representative walk and, you know, almost determine what is good and what's fair for. And I think that's about the only way we're gonna do it, or be able to do it, but we're all ears.
I do agree with Bill though, that like the general idea around the changes and updates to the ordinance, I think, or.
All right, any other questions? All right, so you have some time to review the documents, ask some questions if need be. So we're ready to go next, June 8th.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for coming.
You bet, thank you.
All right, C. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution recommending urban service area amendment.
Yeah, I can take this one.
Sure.
So this is part of the application. So as you know, phase 2 has to there's an urban service area amendment that has to take place through CARPC. So this is the resolution to recommend that urban service area amendment takes place. You can see on the page following the agreement what the urban service area is. It's just a map that shows what that looks like. But the Plan Commission adopted a similar resolution, and then these will be submitted as part of the application materials.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to recommend urban service area amendment. For the village part of the village process.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. Go ahead, Cameron.
Would we ever need to change this if the scope of the project materially changed?
No. When you mean like if it didn't happen or something, we'd have to go back?
Yeah.
No, no, we
No.
try to keep it in our service area.
We'd
so
want
we
it
don't-
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so forever. Cause since we annexed it, we definitely want anything annexed into our urban service area.
Just a quick example, of that would be the first 80 acres. Was in the village
Mhm.
without a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in our service
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
So then-
Just like Creek Crossing
But
was.
we're expanding it out to.
Yeah.
cover
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
So even if it didn't work out, we could still accommodate development in general.
yeah, we wouldn't have to start over again. All right, any other questions on that? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same.
No.
Okay. All right, so we're at number 3, discussion and possible action regarding emergency medical service agreement. So we talked about it. I went through and gave you the changes that we had talked about
Mhm.
in your packet. You have those changes identified so you can see. Plus, it went through legal. And you saw Paul's comments on it. So we are pretty much ready to go on this. So is there any before, because this resolution is gonna, or this amendment motion is gonna be a little complicated, so I just wanna make sure all the questions are answered before I walk through how I think it should be worded. Cameron?
I think we talked about this at the last meeting, but there's like a part that says like very exhibit A or something.
Yeah, that is, exhibit A. That was also identified by the attorney, and that's gotta be part of the motion.
Okay. Okay,
And then the other thing that Paul pointed out, there were 3 things that he wanted changed. One is, yes, we gotta have the motion that says it's contingent with exhibit A being attached to the document, which is what you're referring to.
Mhm.
We need to make the change where if you look at page 1, the first paragraph. Let me get back to that, has to be, that first paragraph, the last part of that sentence after and shall be deemed effective when signed by all parties. That should be removed because on page 5, it's a conflict with what it says on 5. 5 says the initial term of this agreement shall commence on a date. And that's what the attorney wants, so I will bring that up to, that the first one should be eliminated, this one kept. And then the last one is just our signature page needs to be updated. that it's clerk treasurer versus administrator clerk. So, the motion would be to accept the draft EMS agreement with the condition that Exhibit A is attached to the final, and that the last part of the first paragraph is removed, and that our signature page is updated.
Why don't you just make that motion?
Okay, all right. I will make a motion to approve the draft emergency medical service agreement with the condition that Exhibit A is attached to the final copy. And the first paragraph, the last sentence starting with "and shall be deemed effective when signed by all parties" be removed. And our signature page changed to clerk, treasurer.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion and a second discussion. Cameron?
In Paul's email that's in the packet.
Yep.
He's notes that the population formula is ambiguous. Did that ever get resolved?
Yeah, that's resolved. Here's how it is, and I explained to Paul, it's there. It's just that you gotta have the background. So what we do is we take.
Exactly what you want in an agreement.
Yeah.
Well, you do, just hear me out, this is how it works. So the 2020 census, we have population, they do population, they also tell you how many households you have. And the average of people living in a household.
Yep.
That's the data that's solid from the government. So obviously in the census here, we use that. In the group that after that, what we do is, and we started this actually last year, we go through and look at how many permits are issued in each of those towns in the area that's part of this district. Okay, so let's say town of Cross Plains has 10. They then multiply it by that average number of persons per household from the census. Let's say it's 3. They would add 30 people. Well, did I say 10?
Yeah.
10, okay, so that'd be 30 people they would add to their number. And that just keeps building. So that's how we do every year. That's how we're calculating the population. In 2030, we'll reset. There'll be new numbers,
What permits are we looking for?
building permits.
Okay, but not just like any building permit.
No.
Just,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, we're not, yeah. So that, it's a solid way of doing it. I mean, is it how accurate? Well, population per household's going down, but every 10 years it will update the numbers and we set the new basic, but that's what we're doing now, getting building permits. Right, we're good? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So the second question, and again, what our next steps are, and this is what, obviously, my concern is we maintain that we have to make a decision by July 1st. I don't think we have to make that decision tonight. Because we can probably get a little bit more data on what's happening with the other towns, because they'll have meetings before the June 8th. But at June 8th, we're gonna have to decide to have a certain deadline where this is signed and turned to the chief. Otherwise, we're gonna have to exercise the July 1st of withdrawing, and then we can continue, but we don't lose it. Because if we go past July 1st, if someone says, we're not doing it anymore, we gotta wait 5 years.
Well, if we go past July 1st and don't sign it, there was still is it 2 years after that?
No, what you have to do is you have to give notice of 2 years prior, which was December 1st, but we got everybody to agree to extend it to July 1st, so it'd be 18 months.
Okay, so the due date would still be from January 1st. The extension doesn't push that.
No, that would all stay the same. We just extended the deadline.
Got it, okay.
So it's, like I say, it's important, but I just want you guys to know I am going to be honest with them and say, this is what I'm gonna be recommending to my board. That we're, if everybody doesn't sign it,
Oh,
By June 8th, they could have already signed it. We went-
oh, yeah, we would, yeah.
They all signed.
But I have a meeting this Wednesday,
Right.
so I'm gonna say, we passed it with these changes. And this is what we're meeting June 8th, and then we'll make a decision, but I'm gonna be recommending that unless everybody signs it by June 17th and gets a copy to the chief, I'm gonna recommend that we do notice of pulling out. And that just extends the time.
and the other municipalities have this, I assume, because we
Oh, yeah.
received the email from Greg Heyer, and this hasn't changed since our last packet. What I,
Yes,
Okay.
this has changed. Your last packet had the first draft, and then I went through and told you all the changes I recommended to be made. This draft has all those
Okay,
changes.
that's-
All the changes you
yeah.
see here are changes from the last one you saw to this one.
I couldn't, I did look at, okay, it makes sense. I didn't see from your changes to this, didn't see anything different.
Well, because, and originally I did, but what they did is whatever we saw changes from the last time, they just turned into, they took the red out.
yeah.
And just added
Mhm.
the changes that I asked for. Does that make sense to everyone? Is everybody comfortable with that? All right, perfect. All right, number 4.
Did we do a vote? I know we did.
Oh, did we vote?
Yeah, we-
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought we voted. I thought
Let's see, we're gonna do a second
we
one.
didn't vote on the whole thing of giving notice, because we're gonna have a meeting June 8th, and that gives me plenty of time if we need to do it. Okay, so we'll do a proposed bicycle ordinance amendment.
First.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so do I?
So this is
Was
like an
this in the paper?
No, this is an informal public hearing. There was just a lot of interest on this one. And so I checked with Paul and he said that you can just have this. It's basically like public comment again, where people can provide more. It's just because people were interested in this topic, they might want to provide some more feedback. So that's all it is just another public
All right,
hearing.
I'm not sure we should be doing this, just as a process. that-
Okay, sure. I
Because
checked with Bernie,
I'm
but
just confused and I went back and looked at
Yeah.
the paper because I usually read those for notice.
right. So this, you don't actually have to because this is not a zoning
Yeah.
change. Because only zoning changes require the class 2 public hearing. So this is just literally, and this is if anybody has anything they want to say about
But you're
this,
saying there was a lot of interest, but I don't see anybody here, so did they know about
there's
it?
some people online.
Oh, there are,
Yeah.
okay, all right. All right, so do we have to go through the procedure of opening up? Okay, do I have a motion to have a public hearing?
So,
No, second.
All right, any discussion? Roll call vote, I guess?
Trustee Calvert.
yes.
Trustee Henry.
He's not here.
No.
Oh,
Trustee Paul Mikowski.
Yes.
Trustee Brooklyn.
Yes.
Trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Borger.
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
yes. Okay, we're in public hearing.
All right. Jill, did you want to provide a comment?
Yes, I would.
All right. And then just state your name and address, please.
All right. My name is Jill Hutchko and I live at 2124 Valley Street. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts that I agree the definition of e-bikes and scooters need to be clearly defined. And I agree there should be reasonable restrictions on what's acceptable on our mixed use paths. What I ask is that the board take into consideration that e-bikes are a useful tool for people with disabilities or people who are recovering from injuries. E-bikes allow them to participate on the same bike rides for exercise or recreation that people without disabilities also enjoy. Everybody I know who owns an e-bike owns it because they either do not have the physical ability or the endurance to keep up with family or friends. These are not people who are racing down paths at 20 to 28 miles per hour. They need some additional help because of either pain or exhaustion, which limits the activities that they've previously enjoyed. These are people all around us who have connective tissue disorders, clinically low muscle tone, autoimmune diseases, arthritis, knee injuries, and those are just a few examples. If the main concern is that bikes are moving at high speed along the paths and that is not safe, then we need to determine a way to monitor speed on regular bikes as well as e-bikes. I think pretty much anybody who has walked along Xander Park on a nice day has seen people zipping along. A lot of them are younger and a lot of them are not using e-bikes, but they are still traveling at a speed that's probably faster than is safe for the conditions. If we were to cap all speeds at 10 or 15 miles per hour on mixed use paths, or stating that only pedal assist bikes are allowed, that would be one way to address the speed issue. If you specify that only class 1 bikes, which are the pedal assisted bikes, are allowed on the paths, that would also provide clarity as well as reduce some of the speed and congestion concerns. I encourage the board to reach out to e-bike riders to find out why they use them. It would help the village determine rules that are both safe and still allow people with injuries and disabilities to enjoy the paths the way their non-disabled neighbors are able to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll move. We're good?
We're good.
All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So move. Go ahead, chief.
So this was, brought up, through the Public Safety Committee, to start addressing these issues. Not only, pretty much every municipality in Dane County and beyond is looking at some type of regulation with regards to e-bikes and e-scooters. The Traffic Safety Commission's made it abundantly clear that there's some safety issues, with, poor use of these type of, bikes, and now they're much more readily available, much more affordable. And so, it went through the Public Safety Committee. We've been discussing this for 3 months, maybe a little longer. We've had very minimal participation. We've talked about e-bikes, it's been on agendas. I've talked to other people, community members. There hasn't been much from anything until late. What we did receive was from Jill, we received some questions, and from Michael Palmikowski. Otherwise, the community has not come out. I think the committee has taken on the topic, and not much, there hasn't been much hoopla about it. We focused, or the committee focused primarily on safety, and usage, and so then this did go through legal. We after and I think Bill was involved too. There was a lot of communication about it, and village attorney came up with a using the state law, of course, to create just additional language to be added to our current bicycle ordinance, which is the bicycle ordinance itself is not very extensive. I don't think it's more than a paragraph long. And this provides more of guidance with these new bikes. So they unanimously approved a recommendation, and there was a couple of things that needed to be adjusted even up to the last date. Those things have been adjusted, and what's in front of you is what the Public Safety Committee recommended. I'm sure Cameron has more to add. He's been highly involved in this process.
Yeah, I'll add a couple things. We were working a lot with
Officer Hudson as like a, expert, to kind of bounce stuff off with. We did not want to put anything in here based on the different classes of bikes, because feedback from Chief Tony's team was that like it would be very hard in the moment to identify the class of bike, like it isn't always obvious, like, the state statute has definitions and stuff, but like, like even a class 2 bike, it may be pedal powered or manually assist, or may not be. And so then Officer Hudson was like, I don't really want to be sitting there when there's a billion different bike manufacturers Googling the model. Is it a class 1? Is it a class 2? Is it a class 3? Which of the things do I apply? So we tried to, we don't have any of that. We don't, except for in the age of 18 prohibited. So we tried to stay as far away from what you could do, with the different classes. Another comment. Oh, we did talk about a particular in parks and conservation areas and e-bike use there. And Sarah, as the chairperson of the Parks Committee, did come to one of the public safety meetings and listened in and offered some public comment as well. Where we kind of like, because we did discuss the accessibility piece, but where we kind of landed is, we're representing the safety part of things on the Public Safety Committee. And Chief Tony had received feedback from Mike Axon before he had left, that there were instances where very fast e-bikes were zipping through trails and almost hitting people. And so from a safety perspective, this is our recommendation, was just to not allow them. But, if we want to iterate on that, that's what this process is for.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm having a little difficulty in putting e-bikes and scooters in the same category. That would be my first comment. And I believe the state has those different levels, because certain ones are allowed on bike paths of the state and certain ones are not. I believe that's why they did it. There was an article in the Municipal League that went through all this. We're trying to build pedestrian bike trail system, multi-use throughout. And it seems like we're really starting to regulate what we're considering as multi-use. That's one. I think I'm having a little hard time saying no e-bikes on our trails. I would support having saying in the ordinance limit on speed, because I hear you, and I would also not have a problem with putting, using the state statute on what level can go on there. So I know some of those e-bikes at I don't know if the fast one is 1 or the fast one is 3, but whatever one it is, I know some of those can get up near 50 miles an hour, and we certainly don't want that on there, but I think we can regulate that. And I understand the officers' concern about not being able to identify, so I'll take that into consideration, but I still think I'm having a hard time restricting the use and categorizing it, and I'd rather bring the speed down than not, because I'm worried we're gonna have bike paths with no bikes on it, because eventually just about every bike is gonna have some type of part to it. Did we look at like what Madison has and what I'm trying to think, like Middleton, the ones that have big, bike systems?
They looked at several different ones.
Yeah.
They also looked stuff that came from the traffic commission. And that's why Matt was involved, because he's on that traffic commission.
What does Madison say? Do they not allow e-bikes on their
There are
trails?
certain the trails that are marked, certain marked areas.
Oh, so they have some that can, some that can't, okay.
Okay, one thing, I think we have to be really careful about the words we're using, because trail, like when Mike was talking about trails, he was talking about our mountain bike trails. Those are not shared use paths.
Multi-path.
Multi-use path. And so he was saying, like, and I can see that when you're on the mountain bike trail, that's where a big part of his concern was. when we're talking about like our bike
Yeah.
paths, that's very different. And so I have a lot of thoughts that I don't know.
No, we need to talk about it because
Yeah,
I'm thinking,
I mean, like, can I keep going on all my things, or do you wanna keep?
no, go ahead, you can say some of your concerns, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think as we're talking about connecting our trails, from what I'm seeing, a lot of places are going with the speed limit and they're allowing class 1 bikes. The other thing, when you brought up police officers not being able to tell the difference, I'd like them to look at class 1s versus regular bicycles. I think they're gonna have the same issue. Like, it's very difficult to tell anymore class 1 versus regular bicycle. So I think I don't support not allowing them on our shared use paths. My other issue was with the electric scooters. I actually talked to a lot of kids and I talked to them about like, how do you feel about this? And they were really nervous because they're like, I don't want to ride in the street on Church Street. And I don't want, I think our community has these unique things that, I mean, it's my career. I'm more about educating people how to use these paths. I think there's a lot of things we could do to increase the safety on our multi-use paths. Like, there's no sign saying you should be on the right side. And I see walkers all the time on the wrong side of the path. And I think some of those things could improve our paths. Let's see. So, and I just thought the speed limit seemed like that would be easier to enforce. But I was really concerned about the safety of kids on electric scooters. I did see Verona, I believe, like, discourages it. And I think that's another piece. A lot of our kids have been trained that they can only ride electric scooters on sidewalks because that's what it used to be pre-2019. And so kids used to get stopped by police in Cross Plains. Was like a big thing because they were in the streets on their electric scooters. So I do think some of this, just teaching kids, like, it'd be best, if you can take roads that aren't, like, I don't know. I mean, my own kid has found ways to bike to the pool so that he doesn't have to go down Church Street. But I mean, I think there's other ways we can go about this.
And I guess myself and Judy, I think we need to look into, we're getting $500,000 to put in a multi-use trail. I would like to know if there's regulations on that, on what they're defining and what they think needs to be allowed on there too. And I'm thinking, what's that?
You said they, who's they?
The Dane County Parks and DNR, they're the ones that, each giving us 250,000
Yeah.
to put in that. And I'm just thinking, long term, I would like to connect that 1 more mile to Samo Pond. And get people to park here in the village and take their bikes all the way to Samo Pond. And I think you're gonna lose a lot if people can't use electric bikes for that. And that would be having to go from our station onto our trail and then all the way. So I think we really have to look a little deeper into this. It'll be Judy then you, I still think. Is there a particular area that is concerned of safety, or has it just been a broad? Okay,
And just to piggyback, like, I think the committee, they were focused on public safety.
yeah,
But there was some discussion, especially toward the end, about having this, hopefully this body may refer this on to parks and do a joint parks, public safety type, maybe Parks looks at it now and bring some suggestions. We didn't think it would be I hope I'm not speaking out of line for Cameron, but I don't think that there was a spot that today this would be approved and we're just moving forward, because there is some, it's got much like the UTV, ATV, required some extra work and some extra time. And maybe if this body would refer it on, much like we referred on things to the Public Safety Committee, refer it onto the parks so they can look at it from the parks vantage point. And those things that you just identified as part of the grants and those kind of things. And then have a happy medium And Cameron's, he can be the voice to report back to our committee.
Okay, so I have Judy and then Sarah.
I was just gonna say, I'm not supporting this the way it is, so I'm glad we're referring it. I do support like a speed limit, but I don't know how you're gonna how you're gonna police that. But I've noticed so many scooters now on Church Street, I'm like, where, I don't know if it's because of this or all of a sudden, I think every kid's got scooters going by my house now. And that is a big thing, and they're on the sidewalk, which was my kid, I want them on the sidewalk, I don't want them on the road, really. But yeah, so I'm supporting relooking at some things, yes.
Sarah?
Oh, the other thing I was thinking about was the Northwest Dane has those bikes, and I
Right.
think those are pedal assist,
Yeah.
where they,
You have
Yeah.
e-bikes.
Yeah.
Oh, they are, okay, okay. Bill?
All right, so, I agree with Jill that, people with disabilities, this is a good tool for them, however. Where I am gonna disagree is that last summer, I do a lot of walking on Bourbon, I do a lot of walking at Dana Park. And there are, less than a dozen, but more than 4 kids and young teenagers that have e-bikes that will go as fast as they can down Dana Park. I don't move that quickly if a bike is coming down the thing, and if they're coming from behind me, I don't see them. So that's where I really got concerned, is if walking on Bourbon, these kids will go off the curb, on the sidewalk. They'll be all over the place on their e-bikes, and they can go faster than cars can go. Cause there's no restrictions for that. And then on Dana Park, they can go as fast as they want, it's a nice wide flat trail. And they're somehow. That's what I'm concerned about, is the safety of me, people walking dogs and all that.
All right, but see, to me, that Xander Park is a perfect example where you would restrict it and where they would have to walk their bike, because that is a heavily.
I don't even care if they ride their bike, I'm fine with them riding their bike,
Yeah.
just do it respectfully and slowly.
Yeah.
And again, like Judy said, how do you police that? I have no idea.
But I do walk like Highway 12, and that's a big path, and there's a lot of e-bikes on there, let me tell you, like Highway 12 that goes to.
I mean, you walk that a lot as well,
Yeah, I walk a ton, yeah.
right?
And it is, I just think we need to educate and I don't know how we're gonna educate our people to tell them to slow down and be respectful.
well, I will say, like, I think my son was wearing his helmet once, and the police officers gave something to him, and that was a big impact on him, he was like, got something for wearing my helmet, I'm like, see? So I do think there are ways, like, even just, like pointing out, like, oh, I really appreciate how you got out of the way for these, and then, or stop, let's talk about, how do you appropriately go in here? And I mean, I don't know, like, I once ran into a kid on a bike who was not being safe, I mean, like a regular bike, so I don't know.
Can you also, Parks and Rec, you should look at our 5-year plan and see if there's anything that addresses e-bikes or talks about the definition of multi-use trail and stuff like, we should probably look at that too.
I'm that old guy on the trail, I yell at the kids, slow down. I really do, because, but they don't, they just ignore me.
You don't use an arm bar?
Not that strong.
Go ahead, Cameron.
I want to comment on a couple things. One, scooters in the road. I mean, I'm looking at Wisconsin legislature definition. I mean, they can go up to 20 miles per hour. I don't think we want things going 20 miles per hour. Even a manual bike can go 20 miles per hour. Growing up, my dad said it is not, you don't ride your bike on the sidewalk. It's a sidewalk for a reason. I don't think we want electric scooters there. I don't think we want bikes there. I don't think we want e-bikes there. Especially when you're talking about a sidewalk like Church Street. It's so thin. I mean.
Well, I don't think we're changing.
No, I know, but Sarah had brought that up as,
Yeah.
we should allow electric scooters on.
Oh, I see it.
But I guess I disagree. Parks didn't take that up, but to think about how small some of the sidewalks are. And people with dogs and dogs pulling them, and now something fast is zipping by and the dog gets in the way, like, it just is not a good environment for anything with wheels, quite frankly, it's a sidewalk. And then I was gonna comment on something else. Oh, And then also just, I don't think we can have nothing, you know, I don't think you were quite going there, but you know, oh, we got a, you know, Culver's ice cream thing for wearing a helmet, like. That's great and positive reinforcement for a thing, but now if we're talking about you need to stop that behavior. You need a consequence, and we have nothing in our village ordinances or anything to do that right now with the current bike ordinance. It just says we suggest you register your
No,
bike.
we
Yeah,
don't
so-
have, we have to, I don't think anybody's saying that we don't have to get something in writing. But the
Yeah.
question is, what we wanna put in writing.
Correct. I'm definitely, I'm not saying that what we have here should be exactly it, but I'm just to keep those things in mind as the parks.
Well,
Okay, chief and then Sarah.
And if you look at, you could Google search this stuff, it's from A to Z. It's literally from, we're not doing anything to, it's so super enforced that nobody buys bikes because it's just crazy. So I think you just gotta find, I think that we're right, we're at that place where there are a bunch of e-bikes, a bunch of scooters, we need to regulate them to some degree. I mean, it's officer discretion whether we're issuing citations. I can tell you from my staff, we're not gonna be out there issuing tickets. It's much more compliance, and it's usually that big incident. God forbid a crash that occurs or a fatality, which are happening. It doesn't take much to Google search those. They're happening all over with e-bikes. And it's usually these kiddos that, you know, they're using them like motorcycles rather than an actual, you know, something for disability or for fun. It becomes that, what you're talking about. We've received that complaint where a group of 4 kids, teenagers, jump on an e-bike and they're just flying through town, you know, disobeying stop signs and speed. They're past the speed limit, even on a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. That's what we're looking to regulate. And I think you've got to have some kind of teeth in the game. Otherwise, you know, you got to have consequences. I believe in education, and you're right. We all carry a little blue, you know, we're giving things out all the time and reinforcement, you know, reinforcing good behavior. But there's some kids, like you just said, they're not going to listen. And even if we educate, sometimes it's got to be punitive. So I think finding that happy balance is going to be key.
Right, Sarah, then we should probably
Yeah.
wrap this up.
Well, I would like to see Clear Parks, and I would say, I mean, we can say this about kids, my biggest fear in Sanger Park is when I run, the number of dogs off leash. So I mean, and we have a rule about that. So I mean,
Yeah.
I just think like, we've got to keep in mind, there's still gonna be kids doing these things. And so even if we ban some of these things, it's not going to eliminate all the issues.
No. All right, are we comfortable if someone can make a motion to refer this to Parks and Rec?
I'll make a motion to refer the ordinance to repeal and recreate section 514 of the Village Cross Plains Code of Ordinances concerning bikes to Parks and Rec.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. Number 5, discussion and possible action regarding proposed fireworks ordinance amendment to section 22.21. Another one of these that is never ending.
This one's me. I mean, I brought it to help shape you, but this one's me. I don't know, every year. I usually, and so you hear about it too, I'm not crazy.
From you.
Oh, tell me. Maybe I'm a person. I've had, like, people see a Facebook post we make, and then, you know, it quotes our current ordinance, and then they go, but I already bought fountains from Costco or whatever, I can't do fountains, are you kidding me, blah, 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 why do I have to go buy a permit? And it's been slow over, you know, I've talked to Becky and how many firework permits we've given, it's 0, like, people aren't doing, you know. And
Yeah.
so all this is, it's doing nothing but cleaning up the language in the current ordinance to hopefully make it a little more clear. So you can scroll down just really to the, maybe go down. Yeah, even one more, I think that's the, so it's taking out that text above, which basically says, you know, a firework is something like, any firework except toy pistol, paper cap, sparkler, and toy snakes. That's the part people latch onto, but if you actually go dig into the Wisconsin state statute, there's a whole bunch of more crap in there, but people don't do that. So all this is changing, instead of saying except these things, it's switching it around and saying in the affirmative, these things, that's all.
It's embedded in the statute, but
Right.
nobody goes and looks at the statute.
Right.
I mean, that's why it becomes, but. Nobody saw an issue with this change, including legal. It's pretty basic.
This is really the state problem. It's ridiculous that the state allows people to sell the fireworks, but no one can technically legally use them or possess them unless you're from out of state. It's just ridiculous. But until
My
that
favorite-
changes, we're gonna be dealing with it.
If you read that Wisconsin, it's so funny because it says a firework is like anything that explodes except, and then it lists like 20 things. And it's like, what do you,
Bill,
So,
oh, that, yeah.
so I really like this a lot. I'm glad this has come to our attention. The question I have for Chief is, there are people that light off fireworks. And are there consequences for them?
And we issue tickets.
Okay, you do.
oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
We saw it
If they go up in the air, they're probably.
Oh, man, and you
Cause
gotta.
I got an Ebert every year.
We issue tickets. We do a lot of informative stuff, like we post things on Facebook, try to get people to comply, but there's always one or two that just won't, so. Lots of times when they will, they pop them off somewhere away from the home, so it's harder to find who did what. But if you do a good enough job, and we have issued, at least last year we issued twice, I think. Citations where it's like, okay, that's beyond, you have now potential for damage to property, starting a fire, there's no control of that, where it's gonna land.
Well, I have a problem, I'm pretty tolerant up to about 10:30.
Right.
But when they're still shooting them off at midnight and 1 o'clock, and your dog's going crazy,
Right.
it's just annoying.
Right, we get those kind of complaints too, where dogs are now upset and,
Well, it's just a matter of, shut it off at 10:30. Be respectful for it.
And now what we're seeing is a slew of them are going out in the county. So you can still hear them in town, but they're not ours, like we get to the limit of town and somebody's shooting them off in the county somewhere. So it's an issue every 4th of July, starting a couple days before, and they last a couple days after.
Yeah.
It's just, we know that.
Right, you guys all take vacation.
I tried.
All right, do I have a motion? Oh,
Oh, I just, so like, if you are in the town of Cross Plains, which is that little spot, then.
It's not our jurisdiction, so.
but it's still against the
It's still
law.
against the law.
It's state statute.
It says-
I mean, it's the sheriff's department.
I appreciate what you've done here tonight.
It just cleans it up so people that are using those snakes and things can actually just not call us and ask if that's okay.
Yeah.
Which the list is extensive.
You put in your newsletter.
Sure.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the amendment to section 2022.21A, chapter 22.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same. All right.
Thanks, Cameron.
Yep, thank you. Good job. Okay, 6, discussion and possible action regarding 2026 street resurfacing project. Brian. I should have moved this one up. Sorry about that.
Got it.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Great. So we opened bids for the paving project this year, you may recall. Not very large compared to last year's and year before's effort, mostly just due to budget. Only due to budget. So what we, the plan was Creekside Way, you look at it like a field goal post, it'd be the mirror image of last year's with the intersection there. However, the costs were not the mirror image of last year's. Alright. Paving is a very fuel intensive activity, obviously a lot of trucking. So those prices have gone up, but also the product itself is in fact a petroleum product. So we saw increases of just over 15% on paving. The bids are presented here, they're fairly close, which would indicate nobody's really trying to gouge or miss anything, so this is retail price of this much paving in calendar 2026. The way bidding law is set up, a community can really only either accept the bid or reject the bids. There's no negotiating the bid, the bids. You either take them or leave them. It's your only choice tonight. The good news is, like all of your street project contracts, this is set up as a unit price basis. So you do have the ability to simply shrink the scope of work. If that's the desire, so. Instead of paving all the way around the bend. You could simply pave until you spent $70,000, which is the rough budget. That was said at the start, or in the budget process. So those are the choices we've got laid out for everyone. Matt and I have also talked about some of the things that we could probably just not build as part of the project. When I say it was a mirrored image of last year, that I meant literally that. If you ever get to that neighborhood, you've noticed that we added a concrete boom drainage way in that cul-de-sac, the eyebrow cul-de-sac to help with drainage. The mirror image side is not nearly as flat, so it probably doesn't need it. It's not failing in that way. So if you went through the results, you'll notice that item number 4, 30-inch valley gutter. It's not going to save the day, but that's $5,200. You just not do it. You haven't had one for 4 years. So that was one idea. You had to just not do that work. But
and I can comment, since I live on that street and I drive by. While they're mirror images, the difference is when you come down Stump Street to the right is St. Francis, which takes you all the way down to Laufenberg. When you go to the left, which is Creekside Way, it's just a curve. So the other one gets tons of traffic, and that cement drainage was ideal because it was torn up there constantly, the whole thing. So I don't believe, if you looked at it right now, that it's needed. So I think that's a good suggestion to remove that part. I don't think it's needed because it does not get the traffic that the other side gets.
That Raspberry Park?
Well, yeah, St. Francis does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they come down Stump Street, you get on to St. Francis, and it takes you all the way to Laufenberg going past. The other way is Creekside Way, and that's just a horseshoe.
Gotcha.
So there's maybe a dozen houses on that street.
So in ways of recommendation, it's tricky, right? If you reject the bids, there's no guarantee that around will be squared out by the time you want to do it again. You don't know that if we hold the plug and wait until 2027, it certainly wouldn't tell you that you're probably price 2027. So I would suggest your need.
On the pricing side, we do have LRIP fund money that is pays for $36,000 of this project.
Oh,
I should have mentioned that.
Yes. So it will not be cheaper next year. I think that's gonna be used by the end of this year.
so if we're looking at it, if we do the 36,000 plus the 5,200, you're at 41,000, so that comes way down then.
Yeah, we have to spend at least 72,000 to get the 50% match.
Yeah.
To get the 36,000.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we would actually, as the letter indicates, if the budget supported, we would recommend full award and we could certainly pull that concrete off and.
Does
it? Go ahead, Cameron.
Sorry, I'm confused on the money to, so does the budget would support it then with that match, right? I mean, this year, not next year, but. Right, if we just approved the Payne and Dolan one.
Yeah. That's
70, we get 35,000, that would be covered.
I think we expected 72,000 total, and we would pay 36, and we'd have 36. So,
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what we talked about early on. Remember, when we went to bid, that was the plan.
Okay, so
So the bids have come in higher. and 20-some thousand higher, and if we take the 5,000 off, then it's down to, so we're talking about 15,000 more. And I agree, I don't see prices coming down.
I would make a motion that we accept the Payne and Doyle bid of the 94,580, subtracting out the 5,200. I think you said that.
And for, just for a clean record, you can only award a contract. You
Oh,
can give me verbal direction, don't do that thing.
okay, then I
But
make
you-
a
you know-
motion that we accept the Payne and
I get
Doyle
it.
bid. Period.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All same, so move. All right, next one is. Discussion regarding Park Street Design Task Order. I have no idea what this is.
So also in your budget for calendar 26 was to begin design and engineering for a 2027 project on Park Street. That's been your next biggest infrastructure need, mostly driven by the sewer conditions there and water main as well, but mostly sewers. We have submitted for DNR funding, same programs that help you pay for Brewery Road, Bruce and Vintage, but also the Safe Drinking Water Fund that was discussed earlier tonight, through DNR. The next steps for that, presuming you want to go ahead with the 2027 construction, would be to submit an application to DNR by June 30th of this year. That does include the requirement for plans and specifications, which then backs us up to this evening. For this proposal for preliminary design efforts to begin so that we can get those plans in place, so we can submit them by June 30th so that you can have access to DNR money in 2027.
The only problem is, this is not an.
Yeah, I
active
didn't put
item.
action on here. I thought it was
It's
just
discussion,
discussion.
but we can
Yeah,
bring it back,
sorry.
we can make a motion to bring it back to the June
Yeah,
8th meeting.
Yeah, sorry about that, Brian.
No, sort at all. We've worked with you a number of years, so I'm not that worried about it. So what I'll, just to get started, we'll probably get started. You will not get an invoice until or if you approve it. But that'll give me a little bit of a fighting chance to have it. I mentioned 30th.
Okay.
So you may see some of our field staff poking around in manhole, that kind of thing, which is me taking a risk. That it does get approved, which is fine.
All right,
And if we would approve it, but then we didn't get the funding, can we still cancel it or no?
Oh, sure, yeah,
So
All
this
of our
by
stuff-
approving it, like, right, okay.
Yeah, you don't- yeah, you can tell me to stop working on it. So I-
and the other thing, even if they do the work, I don't think sewer water does a lot of changes in a year.
Oh, it would not be
So
wasted.
the plan would be good
Yeah.
for more than 1 year.
Oh, for decades.
Yeah. Cameron?
Like, we need to do this, right? Because I feel like every time I see a Facebook post on a water main or break, there's like a 50% chance it's on Park Street. Is that, have we had a lot there? Like, am I not, or am I making that?
We kind of fixed the main problem last year, right?
Actually, 2 years ago.
2 years ago now?
Yeah.
That one was
The
busted, what, we had it 7 times in a year and a half or something like that?
But, yeah, the water main is definitely aging, but it's also. The infiltration to the sewer main, that rainwater is going directly to the sewer plant and causing that I&I to go up.
That we talked about that.
Yeah, this has been a project that we've talked about for quite a while.
Yeah,
How old is the water infrastructure under park?
7.
All right, so.
Jay, I have a, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I see that this project is just from Water Street to East Street. Is all of Park Street slated to be done at some point? And are we breaking it up into smaller sections?
Yes and yes. It's actually broken up into 3 phases to make it a little more bite size from the budgeting standpoint. You do need to start on the west end, the sanitary sewers gravity flow towards the west, towards the plant. And in order to build that property, you need to start at the low end and work your way uphill. So, and this is the first of what's contemplated as 3 phases. That the other 2, they're not really on any particular hard schedule. We just have some budget costs that you'll all have to reconsider as you do your long range planning.
Okay, would it be more cost effective to do all of Park Street at one time?
Definitely more cost effective. There's economy of scale with everything. It's, you know, it's 3 times the cost, so there was some concern at the last time that the board discussed it in their capital plan, that it was just not tenable. So this is just for that first phase.
What do you think the cost of this first phase would be? And then is the whole thing 3 times that amount?
Give or take, unfortunately my computer just ran out of battery back there. I'm gonna do some quick math here. You know, give or take about 1.2 million, I think was the total for this phase, so $3.5 million for the entire length. And I mean entire length, I say entire length, all the way towards town, near downtown.
Right, okay. Hmm.
And certainly, obviously, we're not acting on it tonight, but all of our contracts with the village have always and will always be, you know, hourly not to exceed. If you decide you want to kill the project 2 days later, or 2 weeks later, 2 months later, it's fine. If you decide you want to do all 3 phases, 2 weeks or 2 years, it's fine too. This is, you see this level of formality only because DNR requires it for their funding. So normally we wouldn't get started on project until October, November. It's just, this one is, in order to get DNR funding, you need to hit all those dominoes and reverse order.
All right, well, we'll bring it back, June 8th then,
Yeah.
as an action item.
Mhm.
All right. Discussion regarding state of Wisconsin DSPS 2% fire dues. I will, take this one, and this is just to give you information. So finance, one of the topics we were looking at is the 2% that the state gives, to the village for fire services. We get the money, and then we also are responsible for fire inspections. And then what the chief does when he gets audited, he comes up with enough invoices to equal the 2%. So when we did some researching on that, we discovered that that's not how state statute thinks you should be doing it. And what is very interesting, the other fire districts around us, they do it the right way. The auditor that did the last audit kind of informed us that that's how other ones did it. He wasn't saying that we couldn't do it this way, but it wasn't what other districts. So Town of Cross Plains does it with their Mount Horeb, Town of Berry does it with District 1, and basically what the state wants you to do is take the 2%, which is about 23,000 of ours, and just run it through and go right to the fire department. That's how it's supposed to be done. That's how.
I thought we did it.
No, we don't. I don't know. No one knows why we are the odd ducks on this. So basically, we're going to do that in the future to be compliant with state statute. There'll be a different line item in their budgets to show this. We also will be turning over fire inspections to the fire district. We'll be no longer responsible for that, and that was about 7,200 if I remember the numbers right. And so there really shouldn't be a financial difference, because now that they're getting this 43, they should not need 43,000 from us when they bill us out. So it all kind of works itself out. So because it's a policy change, I wanted to bring it to the board to know that this is what we're gonna be doing. Go ahead.
So today, the state pays us that 2%.
It will continue to do that.
Okay, but today then we bear the expense of the fire inspections. And so what you want to do is the state pays us 2%, but then we just send it directly to the,
It's not what I wanna do, it's what state statute says.
okay,
That's why I didn't make it an action item,
So-
because we're not gonna vote on something that's against state law.
sure, okay, so,
So we're getting in compliance.
okay, getting in compliance, so, and then instead of the village of Cross Plains doing the fire inspections, the fire board.
Yes, the fire district will do
Or
it.
district, that's what I.
Yep, and the chief is happy with that, that's cleaner, so. And everybody else, I'm not really sure why we did it that way, so it's just an information item. I think in August is when we get that money and we'll just send it on through. All right, number 9, discussion and possible action regarding new village hall and police department. A, construction update.
Yep, I provide this at every village board meeting. I guess maybe I'll only provide it once a month now. So we don't have to have 2 each month. But just some project background, construction update. Things are continuing to move along. So they did complete, I think since the last meeting we had, they completed that lower level slab and have all the primary structural steel complete. And then the masonry down in the basement is already completed. So there's walls down in the basement. And then they're working on some of the stud framing, continuing to work on the rough-ins from mechanical, electric, and plumbing. And then they're working now on the roof decking, joist bridging, interior masonry, all of those things. So very exciting. We also, at our last construction meeting that was on the 28th, on April 28th, we finalized the keying plan. So went through the whole plan, room by room, to determine what kind of keys or key card access points are needed. As far as cameras and key card access, we've had technology meetings with Wold, several of those. So we will be coming back with a package from them shortly, hopefully within the next couple of meetings. And then furniture and police lockers, those contracts were awarded. So they're continuing to get those ready for us. And then tonight, we'll talk about pay app number 5 as well.
All right, thank you. Finance update.
So the main things that changed from last month, we moved the $1 million from fund balance from the general fund to the capital fund. And then I added in, the expenditures does include the pay app that's on the agenda tonight. So that is in the 1.8 million there. And then we purchased the, do you call it like not a pavilion, but shelter?
Yeah.
Pavilion, shelter.
If that's been purchased now for that goal.
Did you ever get information about the backfill?
Oh, we'll hit that when we
That
get
and all-
the application.
All right, can we go on to C, Jay?
Yep, go ahead.
Perfect. So this is regarding an MG&E electrical easement that's required on the lot. So this has been a long process, to say the least. They've been trying to get electric on the site probably since February, or maybe even
November.
Okay, November. I guess I'm giving them a lot more leeway since November. So yeah, it's just been back and forth with MG&E. And then they've been using a temporary generator because they're getting to the point where they need real electricity. They can't rely on the small generators that they had been bringing to the site. So tonight we finally have the easement from MG&E. So this is what is proposed. I did have Brian and Paul take a look at it, Paul, our village attorney, and it's ideal to have these things on the outside of the lot, but there's a couple of things kind of prohibiting that because it's in a stormwater swale is one reason, and then there's like the western portion of the site already has a lot of storm and water service, and some eastern parcel boundary issues as well. So this is what we've got. This is the compromise. We kind of have to move this forward. So we do need action on this item tonight.
All right, do I have a motion? This is MG&E asking for the easement, just so you'll.
Yep, it's an MG&E easement for the placement of electric facilities.
And it's $1. These ones.
Is that what it says in here?
Yeah, Grantor.
Probably is.
They.
Yeah, I think that's,
We're paying them.
Yeah, it's just because you gotta have some.
No, I know, they're paying us $1.
Yeah,
yep. Good deal. Just
I'll make
for
a
them.
motion to accept the MGE easement for placement of electricity and.
we have a second.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion, and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead.
So, I was not a part of any of these discussions, and I understand there is like the swale thing, but like.
Yeah.
We couldn't. Do something with the.
Just so you know, none of us had any input. This is what MG&E says. This is the easement we need to get you to the electric box. That's pretty.
Yep,
much
and I have like an email here from JSD, who's a planner or who is working for Wold, and they were kind of going up toe to toe with MG&E, and I have just kind of a list of the reasons why we couldn't do it on the outside. But like I said, it's mostly regarding the stormwater swale. The western portion of the site is already congested with storm and water service utilities. The trailhead also would be over the electric service line. And then there on the eastern parcel, there's already a 30-foot wide public drainage and walkway easement, which conveys sizable watershed. And then even if placed adjacent to that drainage easement, there's an on-site retaining wall that would be in conflict. So it's just a difficult site for this.
I just assumed, and I know there's the range between the fire station and this, but we could have figured something out there, but. Or why not?
It's interesting,
It is very
but
interesting.
it is what it is.
Yep.
All right,
I have a quick question. Again,
go ahead.
have they asked about their underground gas easement at all? Because they're going to be wanting to put a gas line here also.
No, that's what's on the parts on the west side. You have water, sewer, stormwater, and I believe gas is all on that west side. So they didn't want to, that's why they didn't want to put
Yeah.
electricity.
Ah, gotcha.
Was
Okay,
another
I didn't hear.
utility that was in the way. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same. So payment application 5 is there, just to answer your question. I had not received it, so I sent an email to all parties that are stakeholders and told them I'd be recommending to the board that we do not pay the 19,000 on this number 5 for the earth moving. I got 2 emails back very quickly saying we'll have the report, they're working on it. I'll probably have it by the end of the week.
Okay,
So by hopefully, even if I get it by that way, I'll certainly send it out to everybody.
And
They're
they,
gonna put it in the motion of a
Yeah.
change order,
yeah.
so.
So it's not included in tonight's pay
Yeah,
app.
it's not part of,
No.
yeah, it's not part of number 5,
okay.
but I felt I needed to have some leverage since I've asked 3 times for
Good.
it, yeah.
For what?
We had, after the foundation was put in. They trucked out a bunch of the dirt and brought in this sugar sand. I think I've brought this up. Of course, they didn't contact us. I have no idea, and I asked questions, okay, how many loads, why sugar sand? You know, I wanted a memo or report stating why they couldn't use the dirt, how many loads they took out, how many loads they brought in, how much more was this gonna cost us? That's, I thought, very simple questions an owner should know before. So that's what we're talking about. I have not received that information.
Okay, and is the sugar sand on this?
No,
No,
no.
none of this, none of
That'll
that.
be a change order, a
Yeah.
separate change order.
So we'll just have to wait and see when that comes through. But no, this is for other work that they did.
And the numbers do match tonight, in the cover page.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pay Bickle Brothers $423,720.44.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, same. All right. Number 10, discussion and possible action regarding appointment to the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District Alumni Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Again, this is something that the school district has asked. I didn't want to just appoint someone. If there's someone who has a desire to be on this committee, you can volunteer and the board will appoint you. If there's more than one, then we can come up with a selection process like flipping a coin or something very simple.
That we can do tonight.
That we could do tonight. I kind of, there we go, talent on the spot. Or trivia questions about Middleton Cross Plains School District. Is there anybody that has an interest in being that? I sent the link. And it's basically looking to recognize graduates of Middleton High School. I think it's a good idea. Kind of goes along with the whole plan of recognizing people. No volunteers?
I'll only volunteer if nobody else really wants it.
I don't think I'm not from this area, so.
No, the only qualification you need to be is to be on this board.
Yep.
Oh, well, okay, I'm not doing so.
Okay, so Judy?
Well, I only like,
Oh, no, I'm okay. I have plenty of things.
Sure?
Oh,
Going once, going twice, are you sure?
I do, if
Jen?
nobody else wanted to do it, but
Oh, we'd let Jen do it then.
You wanna do it?
Unless Michael feels strongly.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget about him.
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, well, do I have a motion, to appoint, Jed Henry to represent us on, Middleton Cross Plains Area School District Alumni Hall of Fame Selection Committee?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I
Polls the same. All right, I'll let her know and give her the contact information. All right, thank you. Future agenda items. Bill.
So I've been approached, by some residents. I just want to talk about it. I'm just gonna give you some background, but we'll talk about it.
Well, I don't want to talk about it. I'll put it on a future
Right.
agenda because we can't.
Exactly, but, there are MG&E, I think they're MG&E poles in people's backyards that back up to Bear Street and Venice and all that, and they would like those removed. I just want to bring it up for discussion, see if there's anything we can do about it.
Okay,
They didn't even ask me to bring it up, but I've got two people now say, can we get these removed?
We
I'll
can
just
do
bring it
something
up to the zone.
can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I know someone at MG&E, maybe we can talk before we put it on the agenda and we can ask them directly
I'd love to.
about that.
well, go ahead. I can tell you the answer because they run along across Stump Street and Long Creek Crossing and stuff, and they just put new poles up and we all went and asked them, why aren't we burying them since you're putting new poles? They said too expensive.
But I did have a pole in my driveway when we built my house in 76 and they didn't move it. Right in the middle of the drive.
Yeah, yeah, but we can do it and I think Jen is,
Yeah.
it's generally a cost, and if you look at those poles somewhere down the line, you're gonna find a transformer.
Yeah.
And those are expensive then, cause then you gotta,
I get it.
yeah,
So we also talked about it with the new path. Because Michael asked about it, yeah.
oh, that's right, yeah.
There are
Oh,
poles,
right.
there are
I
poles
was
there,
heard.
yeah, and Brian had basically said, yeah, you can get rid of them, but you have to pay for it, MGD's gonna pay for it, I don't know if that's the exact case with this
Right.
as well, but.
Why don't, we can put it temporarily, on there, and if Jed and you guys can talk with MG&E, you can always call, just send Carly a email saying, hey, you can pull it off, it's not.
Otherwise, I'll plan to put it on.
Yeah,
All right, anything else? Do I have a motion for,
To adjourn.
Second.
all right, I got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
I
Thank you.
So who became the new secretary?